Hello my beautiful friends. So in the previous video we concluded favorites, adding to favorites, retrieving from favorites, and also to delete items from favorites. Okay, so in this video we are going to look at downloads. Okay, we're going to download our wallpaper to the device local storage, or let's just say like the document storage, right. So it's only going to be accessible through the app, and also later on we are going to do the one that can be accessible everywhere once you store it in your gallery. Okay, and you can see I switched to my Android device, and this is I'm actually mirroring my real device, okay, to this visor, right. I use visor to mirror it, so I decided not to use simulator from this point, because with simulator we cannot apply wallpaper. Okay, and if I use emulator I get some issues. Okay, so I decided to use my physical device because it works fine. So but downloads works fine with iOS. Okay, so for iOS you cannot apply wallpaper, right. So what you can do is just to download it, then you can go to your photos to apply it. All right, so quickly let's log in into the system. One thing I need to tell you guys is, when I was trying to run this app on Android, I encountered multi-dex error. So what I did was to fix it I went to build.gradle, right, and I added this line of code, multi-dex enabled, right, and it was able to fix it. Okay, so I do not know why we are getting no image. Okay, it's trying to load. So I added this line of code and it fixed the error, so you should do the same thing. Okay, so I think my network is very slow, so you can see it's loading, taking time to load, right, which is understandable. We can just quickly move to other bits. All right, so what we are going to do now is to go to our download section. Remember, we already created our download screen, right. So we're going to go to our download section, and also when users click on this icon, they should be able to download the wallpaper. So we're going to go here, right. I'm going to create something called download provider. Okay, so this provider is where we're going to write our logic, right. We don't need any model for download provider, so I'm going to write create what is needed, more like the abstract class. So we have this, so here you can see we are going to do three things in this provider. First, we are going to download file. So this download file is here. It's just going to download it to the app specific storage. Okay, so other apps will not be able to access that file, and it's also not going to be stored in gallery or photos for iOS. Then we have save file in external storage. So this is more like the logic to save file in external storage, just as it sounds. You can send it to friends, you can see it in your gallery, you can also view it in your photos. And we have get downloaded files to just get all the files that has been downloaded. So if you check our prospect.yml file, you will notice that we have a path provider to give us the path where we can add our image, right. We have HTTP to just download the URL, and we also have to get the URL, more like using get request. We have the image gallery saver, so we are going to be using this image gallery saver to save our wallpaper to external storage. Okay, all right, so quickly I'm going to create a class here, and I'm going to call this download provider. So I'll go ahead and add the missing methods. So here now we are just going to put our simple get our view state, message, and the rest, which we normally do in other projects, in other videos, right. So this one are the view states to show loading states, right, and we also have the states here. So we have the message if there's an error or something. Then we have the downloaded files. So this one will be used when we try to view downloads. We are going to store them in the list and display it in our UI. All right, so this is more like the update states to just call notify listener. Okay, so the first thing we are going to do now is to download our files, right. So, and to download our files, we'll first of all need to convert that file to URL. Like, we need to convert it to URL using the data type. We need to convert URL to file first. So to do that, I'm going to go to my utils under shared folder, right. Let's go to shared, and inside our utils we are going to create a new file called convert URL to file. We just have our import with the HTTP, right. So what is happening here is that I'm going to convert because all these images, they have a URL and they are coming from Firebase, right, and they are all network URL. So we need to first of all convert it to a file, right, and save it to our document directory. So you can see here, I'm first of all making the request to get the HTTP, right, response. Then I have my download directory, and I'm able to get application document directory with the help of path provider, right? Then here I have the file. I just created a file, passing the document directory path, the URL name. I'm just getting the last name, right, and splitting it. Then I'm writing it as bytes, right, into the file. Then I'm returning the file back, which we are now going to be using to save, right? So now that we have this, I'm going to go back one step, and inside our download file, I'm going to make this a sync. All right. So inside here now, I'm just going to add my try and catch. So we have our try, but first thing before I do my try, I'm going to add my view state. So it's going to show that loading indicator, right, initially, and then we are going to have our try, okay, and then on catch. So catch, we are just going to show like an exception or whatever happens, okay. This is not like a Firebase query, right? So we can just use catch instead of using Firebase exception. So right here now, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do file, because we are passing the URL here. Whenever user click on download, we are going to pass this wallpaper image URL, okay. So here we have file response, okay. Then I'm going to do wait, then just call the convert URL to file. Then I'll just pass the URL because we are already passing it as a parameter here, okay. So once we do that, I'm going to check if the file, because if you notice here now, if there's an error, we are returning null, right? But if there's no error, we are returning the file itself. So, and if you notice too, this is null file, so you can accept null, right? So here I can just say if file response, right, is equal to null. So if there's an error, so what we are going to show is just more like the error message telling users, hey, please try again, we have error downloading the image, right? So this is it. We are going to have this guy here, and if it's null, we are going to return this and just return statement there. So here we are also going to check if everything is fine. We are going to save file into our local storage, okay. So what we are going to do here is just to call the local storage method. So let's say we have await, we are going to have something like save file in external storage, right? So save file in external storage, so is this method that we are going to be calling, right? Save file in external storage. So it's more like we already created it here, okay. So we are going to pass the file into it, okay. So we are going to come back and add the logic for this save file in external storage. So what happens here is that we are just going to pass the file, because it's not labeled. We are just going to pass, this is supposed to be file response. All right, so this should work. And then once everything checks, we can just call our view state, okay, equal to view state dot success, and then we can say our message. We can just return the file path, okay, that was returned, which is more like file dot path, file response dot path, okay. So we're going to return it as the message, and you can see that later on we are going to use this and apply to wallpaper and or do all the stuffs, okay. So now that we have this, I'm going to write the logic for saving in external storage. So to do that, remember I showed you guys that we have this dependency, image gallery saver. Is going to help us to save image files, okay. So what I'm going to do here is just simple, right? I'm also just going to make this a sync, right? And inside here, I'm going to check, I'm going to like get the result first. And so I have my await, and I have my image gallery saver, okay, dot save image, right? I'm going to use save image, and I want to await the file, so I'll just put the async here, then just put file dot read as bytes, okay. I think that's read as bytes. Cool. So this should work. And next thing I'm going to do, you can just maybe log the file if you want, maybe app log. I can just say save file path, right? Let's just get a path to be sure that we are doing something correctly. So we can just have file.path, okay. So this is just more like me printing out something. Then we are going to check again, because this image gallery saver, it returns a dynamic data, and that dynamic data is in form of a map, right? It has is success as the response, right? So if we have, let's say we print out something else again to just get the save file response, and then we put the result here, right? Let's just put the result here. Okay, save it up. So now what happens is that whenever this is having an error, okay, we have something like this. If is result dot like is success, this is how the key is, this is how they actually arrange the key, right? Is success, then we can do something else. If it's not success, we can do something else. If it's success, we can do something else. So I'm just going to leave it like this first. I want to show you how the response looks like, then we can proceed to download it, right? So what I'm going to do now is to go to our view wallpaper and try to implement the logic to download our wallpaper. So I'm going to quickly go to the view wallpaper screen. So let's scroll down to this floating action button that we have here, and make sure you make this a sync. So right here, I'm going to await the download state. I think I've not added that download state, so I need to register this download provider. So I'm going to go here quickly. I'm going to go to my main.dat, right? And inside here, I'm going to put the download provider, right? Save it, and then we can now go back to our view wallpaper screen. I'm going to add multiple providers inside here. So I'll have my first one. I'm going to add multiple consumers. So let's say download provider, download provider, and this is going to be download state. Okay, and here I'm going to wrap this guy with a view state so that it can show that loading indicator, right? So we can just have a busy overlay. Then I will say show download state, right? Dot view state is equal to view state dot busy, right? So while we have that, I'm going to quickly go down to this guy here. So right here, I'm going to say download state, right? Dot download file. Okay. So with this, what we are going to do now is to set pass the URL. So we are going to be using the widget.url, because when user navigates from this screen to this other screen, we are passing it via the constructor, right? Which is this URL. So here now, once we do that, we are going to check if the download state dot view state, right, is equal to view state dot error. So if there's any error, so what we are going to do here now is just to check the context, right? Context dot we need to check if the state is still mounted, right? So we are now going to show message, because we already have this message dialog that we created with quick alert. Okay, I'm going to have message, and then we can just pass the download state dot message. So you're going to understand why this is done, because if you go to the download file and notice here, we are checking if the response is null, we are sending view state dot error and with the message, right? Then if it's success, we are now moving on to this other method, right, to continue the logic. Okay, so here now what happens here is that once we do download state of view state is equal to view state dot error, right, then if it's successful, what we are going to do now is to show views. If the view state is success, we are going to show file downloaded successfully. Go to app downloads to see it, and then we are going to have a confirm tap. Once you tap on it, it's going to navigate you directly into the download screen, right? And we are going to set the logic to is error. So this is what happens here. Okay, so this is pretty much it for the downloads, right? We are going to save this now, and I will try to click on this download to see what happens. Okay, now you can see the please wait, and after some few seconds, once it's downloaded, you can see success, file downloaded successfully. Go to app downloads to see it. Now remember what I was telling you about this download provider. Let's quickly locate it. Remember what I was telling you about this image gallery saver, right? This is how the response comes in. You can see file, save file response. It has a map, right? File path, which is the file path. It has error message null, and you can see the is success is more like a camera case, right? Is success. Okay, so what we are going to do here now is just to continue with this our logic, right? So what we are going to do basically is to check if we are going to check if it's not success, right? If the success is false, we are going to use our view state, right? Dot error, and then we are going to return error, downloading wallpaper, please try again. Okay, so once we have that in place, we can now check for iOS. We need to handle iOS state. So if platform, right, dot is iOS, so what we are going to do instead is to tell the user that your file has been downloaded to your photos. Then you can go there to apply the wallpaper, right? So you have it here, wallpaper saved to your photos. Unfortunately, you can't directly set the wallpaper from the app, so go to your photos and set wallpaper manually. So this is more like what happens when we download using iOS device. Okay, so now if we click OK, it's going to take us to the download screen, but as you can see, we have not implemented the download logic. We have not written the logic to like get the downloaded files. So that's pretty much what we are going to be doing now in this section to get downloaded files. So when we go to downloads, we'll be able to see our downloaded files. So here I'm going to have my sync, okay, and inside here I'm going to still have my view state as well. So have our view state here, okay, and inside here I'm going to check. I'm also going to use my try catch, okay, just to handle those exceptions and all that. So I'm going to grab this one as well and put it here, okay, which is more like the same thing. And here we can just decide, because this is taking this get downloaded files is supposed to be a list of files, like that's what it should be returning. So let's just modify this, and on top of here I'm just going to change this guy back to I think I'm going to change it to get downloaded file. Let's change it to this, okay, and now I can now move in down below. So what we are going to do here now is to once get downloaded files is once there is no error, like first of all we need to like get the app directory, okay, so we're going to be using await, right, get app. So this is coming from the path provider, get app document directory, okay, and this is coming from path provider. You can see path provider, right? So going back here one step, we are going to get the directory. We are just going to create like a directory because we are trying to get those data from the app specific storage after we downloaded it. So I'm going to go do something like, we are not getting it from the user's phone gallery, but rather we are getting it from the app gallery directory. So we have the directory, and here we are going to put the app directory dot path, okay. So I just created a new directory there, and so here now we are going to use files to get all the listed files. So I'm going to use await directory dot list, okay. Then we can now call to list, just to convert it to list, to just get all the available data inside that directory, okay. So next thing we are going to do now is to filter out the files to only include files, because most times you might have directories inside, so we can just filter out files only, right? So we just need to exclude directories if there's any inside, right? So what we are going to do here is more like to say final file list, okay. You can just say files dot where type, okay, is actually of file, right? It's not a directory. So then you can just say dot to list to convert it to list, right? So that's pretty much it. And once we do that, you can now set it to the downloaded files that we created, and then just say file list. This downloaded file field is final, so we just have to remove that final. And right here now, what we are going to do now is to say we are going to say view state equal to view state dot success, and once we do that, you can now call our update state, and once we do that, you can maybe just say can just return a file list, all right. And make sure you do the same thing when there's an error, just return an empty array. You are going to see this use case later while we move into the video, all right. So the next thing we are going to do now is to implement the download, right, to get this download screen. So let's quickly locate our download screen, because I want to be able to fetch, like I want to be able to see all our downloads when we go from settings, right? I want to be able to see all the downloads. So what I'm going to do here now, it's more like to check if inside here, I think what I'm going to do is, because as it is now, it looks like we are already showing, or let's just leave it for now. So let's say here, what I'm going to do is to wrap this guy with a busy overlay, right? And then I'll put the download provider, okay? And we'll put busy consumer, sorry, right? Dot busy, okay? So that's pretty much it. And now moving on slowly, I'm going to add that same check that we are doing everywhere in our project. So it's more like when there is no data or when data is available, we can just show these empty widgets that say no recent downloads. Okay, so now what we are going to do now, because if you go to the downloads, nothing is happening, right? It's just going to show no recent download because this is already null. So what we need to do in our init state, we need to fetch the wallpapers, right? So I'm going to do the same thing that we have been doing in other areas, like for the favorites, we were able to do this. So I'm going to grab this, okay? So under here, I'm going to have this method to fetch, let's say, view downloads, right? So this is going to be the download provider, and this is going to be get downloaded files, right? And if there's any error, we can just show the error to the user. So I'm going to call this whenever users enter the screen for the first time, which is more like inside the init state, okay? Just call this method and we can close this, okay? All right, so now what happens is that I'm going to go back one step and then go back in again. And you can see now it's showing a good, you can see now we are no longer getting that no recent download because it can detect downloaded files. But though it's showing errors because we have not correctly implemented it. So what I'm going to do here is to say the length is 3. So I'm going to say let the length be like the downloaded files length, right? Save it. You can see it's going to update to 2, right? Because we have like 2 items. Is it supposed to be 2? I don't remember downloading 2 items, but let's see. So the next thing we are going to do here now is to put this guy, right? The index, then we are going to set the image download to I think this should be like the path, okay? So once we do that, we're going to save it and let's hope it displays. But now we are going to say it's local, so let's set is local to true, because from this wallpaper widget we have the parameter here is local true, and if it's local we are using file image, if it's network we are using and cached network image. So I'm going to save that and hopefully see display, right? I think there's an error here. I noticed this the first time when I was doing this, right? This guy keeps showing once. So for now we can just ignore it, but if you delete your app, right, if you delete the app and try to do it again, this should be fixed, right? You're not going to see this item, right? That was more like a bug that I see first time when I'm using path provider. But when I delete and try it again, I do not see it. Okay, but so the next thing we are going to do now that we have this is when users see these downloads, right, they'll be able to, let's go back and come back again. When users see this download, they'll be able to click on it to open up the next screen. But normally for downloads, we are not supposed to show auto change enabled, right? So what I'm going to do is just to like I'm just going to like think we have this auto change selection, okay? But what I'm going to do first is to set this guy to, I'm just going to comment it out, okay? We are going to come back to it later. So let's just comment it out to make it look simple. Then what I'm going to do next is to view wallpaper. Remember we have this stuff when you go to the home screen and users try to view the wallpaper, right? What we are doing is that we are clicking on, we are navigating user to the view wallpaper screen, which is this part for the home screen here, right? We need to, so we can see now I have the map, right, to navigate users when they click on, when you go to downloads, right, you should now be able to click and go to that screen. So we have this, we also have the push. I need to like quickly fix this error. So widget.url is going to be the path, right, and here we are going to set I think is local, something like that. Let's locate that view wallpaper screen. Think more like our router. Let's go to our router to see how we actually implemented that. So this is more like going to be, yeah, it's local file, okay? So I'm going to quickly go back one step, and right here I'm going to have all right, so make sure you make this a sync. So as you can see now we have So as you can see now, we have our wallpaper URL, right? We have the show icon true because we need to show the favorite icon. So its local wallpaper ID is just going to be empty because we are not going to be using that for anything, right? So I'm going to click now on the wallpaper that has it. You can see now it has opened it. And if you notice now, we do not have that download icon anymore because the part is coming from downloads. And we do not have the favorite icon anymore because the favorite icon is, this is a local file, right? So moving on, what we are going to do next now is that, so as you can see, we have successfully downloaded wallpaper. We're able to view wallpaper and do everything. So in the next video, we are going to apply wallpaper. I'm going to show you guys how to apply wallpaper, and